everyone, to another episode of Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Today, we are covering a little bit of Brewers news, some minor league talk included in there, and then a little bit of Packer and Badger news. So, to get us started, like I said, we're going to start out with the Brewers here. We got the Dodgers coming up this week, and it's looking to be a big series for the Brewers here to cover the rest of this week. Dodgers looking like game one is going to be Miller versus Hauser. It's a matchup that the Brewers could potentially really take advantage of here. It's not like the Dodgers are the greatest team in baseball, and you're not facing this top of the pitching staff here. You're going to get Kershaw in game two, but looking at game one with Miller, Miller's got his holes. 6-2 this season, 3.89 ERA for him. If your offense can get to Miller in this game early and kind of try to push him out, maybe get to the bullpen, give Hauser some breathing room. If if Adrian Hauser can go 5 innings, 2-run ball, you set this offense up to win this ball game. And that's what the Brewers really need to take advantage of. If Hauser gives us a good outing here in game one, we need to take advantage of that opportunity. And looking at this matchup here, it looks like this Miller, the Brewers have only had Mark Canha and Carlos Santana have faced Miller this season. The most at bats coming from Santana. He's actually got a 333 batting average against him right now in 3 at bats. Canha, 1 at bat. He was a no show in that at bat. He's got nothing for it. But other than that, nobody has faced him, so a new matchup for him. Looking over at the Dodgers lineup, Freddie Freeman, he's got his fair share of Adrian Hauser, 333, 1 home run against him. Jason Hayward in right field, 286 average for him against Hauser, 14 at bats. He's got a home run and 3 RBIs. And then Miguel Rojas, he's sitting at a 286 clip against Adrian Hauser, 7 at bats, 1 home run, 1 RBI. And Ahmad Rosario, shortstop, he's sitting at 4 at bats against him and no hits. Chris Taylor, 500 batting average and 2 at bats. So these guys haven't really seen a lot of um, Adrian Hauser either. And right now, even like a guy like Mookie Betts, he hasn't had the best of luck against Hauser. So if Hauser can keep the ball down, he can keep the ball on the ground for this Brewers team, this defense that we've been told all season that's what we're building towards. We got to have this great defense, this great pitching staff. That's the only thing that's going to keep this Brewers team intact. That's what we're going to be looking for in this series here is that Adrian Hauser to start the series here keeps the ball on the ground and this defense can take care of business. I don't expect them to put up a boatload of runs against this Dodgers team. I could see them winning. I could see them winning the series, but I think it's going to be in close matchups. I don't predict any blowouts in the series. And if they do, well, more the merrier, I guess. I would love to see a blowout. I'd love to see them go to LA and kick the crap out of these Dodgers, but I just don't see it possible. The Dodgers are coming into this series 71-45 right now. They've been rolling. It's tough. The Dodgers history against the Brewers. They like to beat up on the Brewers. We saw it in the NLCS. We wish we could have that game seven back at Milwaukee and the Brewers could have taken care of business and punched their ticket to the World Series that year. But we can't. And looking at it right now, you look down this Dodgers lineup. Freddie Freeman, he's sitting 339 average right now. Mookie Betts 287. Will Smith at a 275 clip. JD Martinez 260. Outman sitting at a 257, and Muncy's at 194. Those are your top hitters down there. Home run wise, Betts 31. Muncy's got 28. Martinez sitting at 25, and Freeman sitting at 23 for the Dodgers. So they have some impressive bats. We know that. We've seen Freddie Freeman. We've been on the wrong side of a lot of Freddie Freeman's big home runs and a couple postseason moments that we'd like to have back. And looking at this series here, it's going to be a lot about calming down Freddie Freeman's bat, controlling Freddie Freeman. Somebody else beats you. Somebody else beats you. One of these rookies beats you, they beat you. But you got to be able to calm down the top of this order with Betts, JD Martinez, and Freddie Freeman. Muncy hasn't been having the greatest of seasons, but it's going to be about shutting the Stars down and seeing what you can do. They did that in that Braves series. They kind of slowed down the Stars there in Milwaukee, and that helped them out a lot in that series. Not the best of outcomes that they've had against the Braves, they had a couple games there they should have won. We all witnessed that series, high scoring affairs. They put up runs against the Braves, and I do expect them to put up runs here against the Dodgers. They're rolling right now. I think that helps a lot. Is that this offense has been clicking a little bit as of late. Not really in Game 2 against Chicago, but you look at Game 1 and 3 against the White Sox. They put up 7 runs apiece. So I mean, a little better pitching out here with the Dodgers, but I do expect some runs to be put up on the board here for the Brewers, and it's all going to come from, can these rookies keep rolling? Sal Frelick, Bryce Terang. Can those guys keep hitting as they have been? Terang has been hitting a little bit better here as of late for the Brewers. Sal Frelick, ever since he came up, has been a consistent bat for the Brewers in this lineup. Joey Weimer's my guy where it almost seems like he's trying to play himself out of a spot next year, especially with the emergence of Jackson Churro coming up. You have Sal Frelick up already. You're looking at a guy like Garrett Mitchell coming back next season. Joey Weimer might be the odd man out if he cannot figure out his swing, and that's where I'm really hoping that they can get him some time, maybe in AAA, maybe somebody on the outside. I don't expect these hitting coaches to fix what's wrong with Joey Weimer, but maybe on the outside somebody can help and get Joey Weimer's bat back to what it was in the AAA, down in the AA levels. He was a good hitter on his way up, and then all of a sudden he got to the majors and his confidence is gone. He's chasing a lot. That bat path isn't on. So looking to see maybe Joey Weimer down the stretch here kind of find his bat. Hopefully, it gets hot because a couple more bats in this lineup get hot, and this team becomes dangerous going into the end of the season here and even possibly into that postseason. If this offense gets hot, they have the pitching staff. You have Burns, you have Peralta, you have Woodruff back, you have Miley. That's a starting rotation that can take you on against any one of these teams. I'd take that starting rotation against the Braves. I'd take it against the Dodgers. I'd take it against the Texas Rangers or the Baltimore Orioles. So looking at that, you take that into perspective, that offense finds any glimmer of hope, any kind of consistency in that lineup from top to bottom, maybe even in your top six. You are looking at a solid ball club going into the home stretch here of the rest of the season, and then going into the postseason there next. The division race right now starting to heat up. The Cubbies are chasing the Brewers right now, 3.5 games back. The Reds sitting 3.5 games back of the Brewers right now. The Brewers sitting at 65 and 54. The Cubbies coming in at 61 and 57. The Cubs do not have a game tonight. They have a game tonight. They'll be playing the White Sox. So a little bit of in-state rivalry there with the White Sox. I do think the Cubs will win that game. So this upcoming stretch for the Brewers, it's nice that they built themselves a little bit of a lead here, 3.5 games up, especially having to face the Dodgers, then the Rangers. But you're going to have to win a couple of these games here if you're going to keep pace at the top of that division. We're hitting the home stretch, and you got to be able to beat the big dogs, especially if you want to make a postseason run. And this is your shot right here. You're gonna have two in a row. If they can pull off some wins, maybe some series wins against the Dodgers and Rangers, I think that sparks this offense, and I think that gives them the confidence, especially after that having to face the Twins and then the Padres. Then then you go to Chicago, and then you have the Phillies and the Pirates. So you're going to have some big series coming up against the Chicago Cubs and Phillies right after the Padres and Twins there. So these couple games here right away against the Dodgers, that's going to set this road trip up for the Brewers. Can you take care of game 1 against the Dodgers? Can you get to game 2 against the Dodgers and take care of business there with Wade Miley on the mound? And then in game 3, you get Corbin Burns set up for a big matchup there against Lynn. I expect that to be a huge game, 9:10 start. I'm not a fan of these West Coast times. It really pushes the 9:10 p.m. Not a fan of it here in Wisconsin to be having to stay up late and watch the Brewers. I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, but it gets annoying with those 9:10 starts. I get annoyed with the 7:10 starts at times when they run a little bit past 10. But then you get these 9:10 starts, and wow, you barely get to watch the game, and it's like, oh, yep, it's bedtime already. So, but yeah, so that's what we're looking at right now. The Dodgers coming up here tonight, 9:10 start. Hauser versus Miller, looking to be a great game 1 for the Brewers. Then we are looking forward to the minor league talk. We're going to get into a little minor league talk here. They did release their new top 100. And looking at some of the prospects that have been thrown on there, Jackson Churl comes in at number 2. Sal Frelick, he got in there at number 22 on MLB's pipeline. Jefferson Cuero, catcher, he's coming in at number 34. Jacob Mizorowski, he's coming in at number 38. And Tyler Black, recently promoted up to AAA Nashville, he's coming in at number 56. It's good news for the Brewers. It's been a while since they've had five guys up there in the top prospect list, especially having two guys in the top 25 in Sal Frelick and Jackson Churl. Two really promising prospects. We're watching what Sal Frelick can do right now. We're seeing Jackson Churl heat up at the double A excuse at the double A level right now. Jackson Churro actually at double A, he's sitting at a 284 average, 71 RBIs, 17 home runs for him, uh, two triples, 19 doubles, and 112 hits. So he's been looking good at the triple A level so far, or at the double A level so far for Biloxi and for this Brewers organization. And then we look over at a little bit of Tyler Black news. He was recently promoted up to triple A for the Brewers, and he's been hitting solid. He hit solid all year in the double A for the Brewers, and then looking into his triple A stats right now, he's been struggling so far to start at triple A at 158 average for him, 31 plate appearances, 5 total bases for him. Hasn't ground into a double play yet, but he's been struggling at the plate to start. But you look at his double A stats for him so far this year, and he's sitting at a 320 average for the season, 158 total bases, 38 extra base hits, and he got hit 13 times. So some impressive stats out of Tyler Black. Got moved up to the AAA level, so great news for him leading up into this season. And then we will check out a little bit of Jacob Mizorowski's stats so far this season. Jacob Mizorowski sitting at, when he was with the Timber Rattlers, 6 starts, he had a 1.90 ERA. He was looking solid for the Rattlers this season. And then looking up into his double A stats, he started to struggle at double A level a little bit. 4 starts, he had a 7.80 ERA so far at double A. It's growing pains, especially he's young, so it's growing pains for a guy like that, but the stuff is there. He's got the movement on his pitches, he's got a high velocity, so great news for the Brewers there to have a guy like him up at the double A level already, pushing his way up to triple A. He's just got to settle down a little bit at the double A level, and I think he'll figure it out there. And then Jefferson Cuero, catcher, 283 so far this season, 14 home runs, 42 RBIs, 8 doubles, and 71 hits for him, 33 walks. So he's been looking good at the double A level so far this year. So a lot of promising prospects right there to see in this Brewers organization. Hopefully see them keep producing and keep moving up through the levels. I could see a guy like Tyler Black, if he starts to produce there at the AAA level, to see a guy like Tyler Black potentially get a call up to the majors. He's very great at plate discipline. He's very disciplined at the plate. Draws a lot of walks, gets on base, tons of stolen bases. He was sitting at about 40, I do believe, at the 47 at the double A level for him, only caught 9 times. So he was impressive there running the bases for the Biloxi Shuckers before he was moved up to triple A. So impressive eye out of him. So look for him for big things, potentially this season yet or into next season to be an option there. He's a third baseman to be an option at third base for the Brewers leading up into next year. And then with that, we will look at the MLB postseason as of right now. And they announced the postseason schedule. So the postseason will start. The wild card series will start on October 3rd. That'll be the first of the wild card games. Then October 4th will be the second. October 5th will be that third game. Then the division series will start on October 7th for the NLDS. ALDS has got October 8th. And then we're looking at October 9th for the NLDS to kick back up, and then it alternates day by day. Championship Series will kick off for the NLCS on October 16th. and then the World Series will kick off on October 27th. But with that, that's about all I got for Brewers talk. We're just getting into the series here against the Dodgers. See a little bit more there. Actually, we'll cover a little bit of what we are seeing stat wise for the Brewers leading up into the series here. Christian Yelich coming in at a 290 average. Willie Adames coming into this series 203. Look for him to potentially produce here. It's a brighter lights in LA. Maybe that sparks Willie Adames' bat. He starts to see that the Brewers, we need you, Willie, and maybe he starts to see that and he jumps the gun here and produces a little bit at the plate. It'd be great to see out of Willie Adames. And then looking down the list here, William Contreras coming in at 275 average. Brian Anderson sitting at a 227, Joey Weimer 216, Bryce Turang coming in at that 217 average right now. Andrew Monasterio 288, Victor Caratini 252. Sal Frelick dropped a little bit down to 258 right now. And Mark Canha sitting at a 225 average for the Brewers. Carlos Santana coming into this game is batting 172 for the Crew. So I'm looking to see some big things out of a couple guys. They really do need them in this series, and that is Willie Adames, Carlos Santana, and maybe a guy like Joey Weimer. And those are guys we expect in this series. Yelich, Contreras, even a guy like Sal Frelick are going to produce for the Brewers. Monasterio, especially, those guys are going to produce for this Brewers team in this series. I really do think with those guys, they are set in stone. But in a series like this, you need guys where we don't expect them to produce for this team, and that's where I'm looking at a guy like even a guy like Brian Anderson, Willie Adames, Joey Weimer, a guy like Victor Caratini could come up with some big hits. Tyrone Taylor. Looking down the lineup, they could potentially have out there Carlos Santana, Mark Canha. They need those guys right there to produce a little bit for them in this series. Those would be huge add-ons, and we'd love to see it. Maybe even a guy like Abraham Toro, if he gets some time in there. He 8 hits and 18 at bats so far this season for him, 2 home runs. Maybe a guy like Abraham Toro gets some time and comes up big for this Brewers team. I expect the stars to shine in LA, like Yelich, like Contreras. Those are your stars of this Brewers team. Even a guy like Sal Frelick and Monasterio, the underwritten stars of this Brewers team. A couple of the rookies there. But I do expect some big things out of the guys we're not talking about, the guys who have been struggling this season. Maybe a couple big series against the Dodgers and Texas Rangers. I know the pitching's going to get a little bit better, but maybe a spark in their bat comes in these series. And I look for those guys to be the producers. If they can go in this series, if they get their bats even a little bit hot, I mean, light a match or something, I could see the Brewers taking 2 of 3 from the Dodgers here if you can get some of these other guys going, not just your main guys. You got to get some of these other bats, the struggling bats, going here in this series. But with that, we will switch over to a little bit of Packers news. And starting with the Packers, I am looking at rookie kicker Anders Carlson. And do we need to press the panic button on him? Or is it one of those growing pains of a rookie? Or is it time to call Mason Crosby and say, hey, you want to come back to the Packers here? One of those things is not going to happen, and I don't think the Packers are going to call up Mason Crosby. I think they should. They really should. They should call Mason Crosby and say, hey, you got one more in you? We'll have you come kick one more season. And you have Anders Carlson. He can fill in for Mason if it's a longer field goal like they were going to try and do last year, or if it's something that you have a big lead, maybe you let him go out there and try for the extra point or something. But right now, he's missing extra points. He's right now he's not he's missing right. The reports and everything that we're seeing, he's missing to the right now, and it's a good sign. It is honestly a good sign. If he was missing all over the place, sometimes to the right, sometimes to the left, sometimes he was short and then to the right again, we would be in a different predicament here. But you look at a guy, he's just missing to the right. It's in his technique then. And like he says, he's coming up to the ball too fast and he's just pulling it to the right a little bit. He's kicking it to the right. That's something that can be fixed. That's a mechanical thing. That's a rookie kind of a jitter in there. Maybe he slows himself down. Maybe he calms himself in there and he'll look a little bit better. Right now, 41 of 59 conversion rate through the first 3 weeks of camp, including Friday night's preseason against Cincinnati. Good. I mean, 69%. That's okay. It's not great. The Packers won't be able to live with that, especially when it comes down to we need to hit extra points. Extra points come huge at the late in the game there when you're in a dogfight to have those couple extra points there. And that's where I think they're going to struggle here. Maybe you bring back Mason Crosby on as just the extra point guy. I don't know. But right now, I don't want to lose hope in this rookie kicker, but it's getting harder and harder day by day. Also, looking at Packers news, could the Packers potentially have workload for three running backs in Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, and Emmanuel Wilson? I think it's going to be tough. I really do think it's going to be tough. I do see a lot of Aaron Jones playing out at the split in the slot position for the Packers. So I could see Aaron Jones being utilized a lot in the pass game. He's a very good runner, though, so it's hard to not have him in the backfield. AJ Dillon's your bruiser. Emmanuel Wilson, though, in that first game, he was impressive. So it's hard not to put a guy like Emmanuel Wilson in at least a thought into this rotation for the Packers there at running back. I could see him carrying all three, and I could see him using all three. But I'd really look for the Packers to potentially look if Emmanuel Wilson's producing and he's got the bruiser skills, and he can, I mean, just as he showed there in that first preseason game for the Packers, maybe looking at trading a guy like AJ Dillon. I'd hate to see him trade a guy like Aaron Jones, but maybe AJ Dillon's a trade candidate for the Packers. Maybe you can get something in return. Or maybe ride and die with three running backs and you get some different packages in there that includes them all. Like I said, you can work with Aaron Jones out in the split and out at the slot position for the Packers. It's a wait and see kind of game and see what LaFleur does. Right now, it looks like, though, Love is expected to play more this preseason, according to LaFleur. So good news there for the Packers that we will see a little bit more of Jordan Love. I think he does need a little bit more time. He looked good in that first preseason game, but I'd still love to see him a little bit more in this preseason and just keep continuing to put the work in, especially having some of these rookies, second year guys, some guys who need a little bit more work out there at the wide receiver position, having them in there with Jordan Love to get the reps there against not just your defense, but against some of these opposing teams' defense, even if it isn't their stars out there, just to get that experience there for the Packers. And then it's looking like, and that is, yeah, that's about it for the Packers talk right now. Just got to say, I mean, Emmanuel Wilson looked good in that preseason game. He's a big winner from that first preseason game. Jordan Love also looked good. Other than that, Josh Myers, center, he's looking like he could be in a dogfight for his position this year. Zach Tom looking like he could rotate in there, and Runyon. So Myers needs to work his tail off to get that starting role this season for the Packers. Other than that, though, we will flip over to a little bit of Badger news. Badgers are starting at number 19 in the polls to start the season here in college football. Right now, the top 25 rankings go like this. Georgia's sitting at the number one spot. Coming off of last season, it's hard not to put them at the number one spot. They kind of run college football right now. Then we're looking at number two with Michigan. We'll see what happens with Jim Harbaugh and see if Michigan gets affected by that. Ohio State coming at number three, got to replace a quarterback. So we'll see how the new quarterback comes in Ohio State. They always seem to find somebody and they make it work. So Ohio State coming in at that three. Nick Saban and Alabama coming in at number four. LSU coming in at number five. USC, Caleb Williams coming in at number six. Penn State coming in at number seven. Number eight, Florida State. Number nine, Clemson. Number 10, Washington. Number 11, Texas. Number 12, coming in there is Tennessee. Number 13, Notre Dame. Number 14, Utah. Number 15 is Oregon. Number 16 is Kansas State. Number 17, TCU. Number 18 is Oregon State in that dwindling Pac-12 out there. Still have their teams this year, but that conference is going away here. Oregon State coming in at number 18. Number 19, Wisconsin. Number 20, Oklahoma. Number 21, North Carolina. Number 22, Mississippi. Number 23, Texas A&M. And then they threw in Tulane at the number 24 spot, and Iowa coming in at that number 25, looking they hopefully will have an offense this year and not just the defense scoring for them. But that's looking like, I mean, a good start for the Badgers. They're at number 19. I didn't expect them to be much higher. The hype of Luke Fickle coming into this offense, the additions that they have on the offensive side of the ball, it's looking like a good season there for Wisconsin with Braylon Allen and Ches Malusi both healthy at the running back spot. Tanner Mordecai at quarterback. It's looking like it's set up for a promising season for Wisconsin, and I can't wait to watch them play Ohio State at the shoe here this season. Other than that, in Wisconsin news right now, sad news for the Badgers. One of the top tight ends for Wisconsin, Clay Cundiff, is actually calling it a career due to injury reasons for Wisconsin. He's had a lot of injuries in his career, high school, coming up into college, ending college here. It's finally come to the point where he's just calling a career. He's got to think of his body first and think of his future before putting his life, or well, yeah, at this point, life on the line and his day of life on the line for football. So, I mean, hope for the best for Clay. Sad to see he won't be out there on Saturdays for Wisconsin this year, but pray for the best for him going on with his life here. And then another report out of Wisconsin, Phil Longo actually was talking about Nick Evers, and he was saying that he is starting to get more reps in practice here, and he's looking good. So good to see that another quarterback for Wisconsin is looking to be promising. They have a full quarterback room right now. Braden Locke, and then you have Tanner Mordecai, Nick Evers, Burkett. So they have a full quarterback room right now, and they're all getting time. So it's good to see for this uh, Badgers team that they have options. There's a lot of options. If a guy struggles, we have options to fill in behind him. It's not like we have Graham Mertz out there at quarterback anymore. We have some solid options, and it's great to see for a Wisconsin team. Hopefully, a promising season is in front of us for the Badgers going into this season. But other than that, that is about all I have for Wisconsin sports for the day. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. It's been great, and we'll look forward to tomorrow. Hopefully, the Brewers get us a win tonight. We'll have a little bit to talk about there. But until tomorrow, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow. Deuces, Brew Crew.